Hi, I'm Dr. Melanie Brown. I'm the STEM coordinator here at the Sweetwater Union High School District, and I have the honor of interviewing today some of our Eastlake High School students who participated in the Sweetwater Union High School District Science Fair and the Greater San Diego Science and Engineering Fair this year. My first student interview is Ronald Wyatt. And Ronald Wyatt has the distinct honor of being selected as a student who participated in the California Science Fair. So he's going to tell us a little bit about his project and then about his experiences at the California State Science Fair.
Hi, my name is Ronald Wyatt. I'm 11th grader here at Eastlake High School, and I participated in the California State Science Fair with my project, Polystyrene-Based Superworm Frass, and its theoretical impact on plant nutrition. So basically what I did was I took a beetle larvae, stink bug beetle larvae superworms, who have shown the ability to break down polystyrene. What I did was I basically took their what I call it frass, but it's basically just poop. I ran it through a bunch of machines to kind of chemically analyze it to find out what's in it. And then I took that to see what chemicals would be good for plants.
Thank you. And what inspired that project?
Well, I mean, everywhere I go, I see trash, like, on the streets everywhere. Polystyrene is actually the third most polluted plastic in the world. It with extreme costs, over $3,000 per ton to recycle polystyrene, and it leads to only 1% of the world's polystyrene getting recycled. So I just thought there must be a better way, and here it is. Here, found one.
And how did preparing for the state science fair differ from the county or the school level fairs?
Oh, well, definitely it feels a lot bigger when you're preparing for it. You know, it's not as much pressure for the district fair and the county fair because, for one, it's much closer. You have a lot of, like, your friends who from your school who are going to the same thing, a lot of people from the same district. You don't really have that kind of support system when you drive out to go to state. So it was a lot more self-driven, but I think I ended up doing pretty well.
Now, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice before starting a project, what would it be? And also advice to others that are wanting to start science fair projects.
If you're going to pick a project that has to do with poop, be ready to shovel a lot of poop, because I definitely should have invested more heavily into gloves and hand sanitizer. Definitely one of the pieces of advice I'd give my younger self. Definitely buy a nice sturdy scoop, as that was definitely something I had to deal with.
Okay. Ronald, what do you see as the impact of your project on society?
Well, I mean, at the end of my project, I discovered that the degradation by the superworms completely eliminates the toxicity of polystyrene. It breaks down the main components, styrene and benzene, into being no longer toxic. And it has a great ability to increase the soil moisture retention capacity of soil. As an amendment, this could help in more arid regions like India and Africa, where you need a lot of soil moisture to grow staple crops like certain strains of long grain rice or wheat. This is important in more places where stuff like GMO and the Green Revolution hasn't really taken hold yet. Mm-hmm. And it's a much cheaper solution than other soil amendments like peat moss or other styrofoam-based amendments.
Thank you.
Of course.
Now, do you see yourself pursuing a career in one of the STEM fields in the future?
I've certainly be really blessed to be able to do that. Hopefully it's in the cards for me. I hope to attend UCSD to be an environmental engineer after I graduate next year. So that's what the goal is right now.
Great. Now, what were the places that you won at the three science fairs that you participated in?
So at District Science Fair, I got first place in my division, and it's the same for county. And as far as when I went to state, I didn't place on the podium, so I didn't get first, second, or third. But I did get fifth in my division, so that's it's pretty good.
Wow, that's pretty good for the state. Rapid fire question, really fast.
Let's do this.
Late night research or early morning?
Oh, 100% late night research. I think 90% of my project was done at 3 a.m., so you can decide if that's early morning or late night.
Team project or solo mission?
Team project. It's nice to have that support system when you have a brain fart when you're judging. Have someone to jump in there, help you out.
Thank you so much for sharing all of the information. And who knew there was so much in poo?
Oh, certainly not me. Now I do.
There's so much science.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Kaden. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your grade level and your history of participation in science fair?
I'm Caden Williams. I'm a junior at Eastlake High School, and I've participated in science fair in the elementary school level, but I haven't really done any science fair in the high school. This is my first year doing it.
Fantastic. Thank you. And you were very successful at the science fair this year. And tell us a little bit about the topic of your science fair, how you got the idea, and a little bit about your research.
My topic for my science project, it was in the environmental sciences, and it was about how the consistency of creating awareness to individuals affected their carbon footprint over a span of time. So I had two groups. I had a control group, which only took a survey that created awareness once, and then again 7 weeks later. And then I had another group, my experimental group, and it took the survey consistently over a 7-week period every week. And so this survey, it asked a lot of questions based on 3 specific categories: diet, transportation, and shopping. And what it did was, using those questions, it created awareness, but it also calculated the participants' carbon footprint through a spreadsheet that it was connected to.
Fantastic. Were there any like aha moments or any like, wow, I didn't realize this, that you had during your research and your experimentation?
Not really, because my results went with my hypothesis, which was that through increased and consistent awareness that the participants' carbon emissions would reduce, which it did. It reduced by 30%, which is amazing. Like 30% reduction of carbon footprint is
that is
awesome.
Great. How could that help society? How could your project do something to help society?
I think it's awesome, and it could really help society, because just to think that it increases awareness, just increased awareness would reduce carbon emissions by 30%. To reduce individual emissions, it may not have much of an effect if you only do it with 150 or 100 people, but if we like produce this on a mass scale, it would create a large effect, in my opinion.
Oh, that's great. And if you had more time or resources too, how could you expand or improve this project, maybe like in the future?
So I would definitely make the survey more detailed and ask more questions specifically about things that I didn't touch on in the previous survey, such as heating and energy, just because it was hard for my participants to access information like that, but also to make it more widespread and broad, and more accessible. So I would change it from being a Google form, which is where I initially made the survey accessible to, and to being an app that you could download from the App Store. So anyone would be able to download the app, and it would be similar to like a fitness tracking app where you can just track and get individualized
carbon footprint tracking app. That's fantastic. That is great. Now, do you see yourself pursuing a career in STEM, in the STEM field?
Yeah, definitely. It would be awesome. I love STEM, and I think it's amazing. I specifically want to go into engineering, maybe mechanical engineering or some sort of engineering where you're just like building stuff and creating stuff. I just love creating stuff, and I think it's amazing.
With a low carbon footprint, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Now, rapid fire questions. Lab coat or hoodie?
Hoodie.
Charts or models?
Models.
Science memes or science documentaries?
Documentaries. So much more interesting.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about your project or any of your future goals? Because you're a junior, correct?
Yeah.
So you still have another year to work on your project and expand it or work on your app.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually gonna start creating this app, or I'm gonna start working on it, and hopefully it can be more widespread, because I just think it would be amazing, just like for it to have such a small scale impact and for that to turn into a widespread and thing. I think it would just be amazing.
I think it would be amazing too. Thank you so much, Caden, for your time, and congratulations. And you placed in the county, and you placed in the Sweetwater Science Fair.
Yeah.
What were your places?
Yeah, so I placed first in the Sweetwater, and then for the Greater San Diego Science Fair, I placed second.
Fantastic. That's very, very good. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And good luck with your app.
Thanks.
Madeline was one of our winners at the Sweetwater Science Fair and did very well at our county fair. And I'm going to let you tell a little bit about your experiences, your science fair project, and a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hi. So again, my name is Madeline Grappelon, and my project was the development of a 3D printed gel electrophoresis chamber. And a little bit about what gel electrophoresis is. It's a technique used by scientists in the lab to determine the different lengths and sizes of various macromolecules. So for my example, I utilized loading dyes to represent DNA fragments. And what I did is, instead of using a manufactured gel electrophoresis chamber from Biorad, with the power supply, that costs around $4,000. And so what I did, I 3D printed and designed my own version of the gel electrophoresis chamber for $75 only. So much, much cheaper than a manufactured chamber.
Fantastic. So how would this project be able to apply to real world? How could you really change the way that gel electrophoresis is done?
As what I did here for biotechnology, we're lucky enough to have a biotechnology class and a teacher that teaches it. And I've spoken to some other students, especially in middle school and elementary school, that I've presented my project to them, and they seem interested in learning more about molecular biology. And yet they don't have the funds nor the teacher or the chambers to really conduct this experiment. So what I've been doing, I've been spreading my ideas and allowing others to realize that it is possible to 3D print your own gel electrophoresis chamber for much cheaper. And because it's so much cheaper, so many more kids around the world will be able to utilize these chambers. Such as myself, I don't have the funds, the $4,000 for a chamber, and I don't think many people do. So this will definitely.
Right. And Eastlake High School is very fortunate to have a biotech program with Dr. Hinono. And so it is a great program, and we're hoping to really increase the capacity and the interest of students. And I think Madeline's project is definitely something that will help us increase the knowledge and awareness of the biotechnology program here at Eastlake High School. Now, Dr. Hinono also helped you with your project, didn't he?
Oh, he did, very much so. Big thank you to Dr. Hinono and to some of my friends in biotechnology for really guiding me through this project, especially for Dr. Hinono helping me throughout the weekend, which Miss Williams will explain later in detail.
Now, how long I know some of our audience may be watching and wondering, how long does it take to do a science fair project? I know it varies with the content of the project, and it varies with, how much time and a student may have, but let's talk about your project. How much time did it really take for you from kind of start to finish, or an average, like how many hours per week?
Of course. So I started brainstorming my initial project around November of 2024, and I didn't really get my idea going until December-ish. Not to mention, this was also my first time 3D printing anything, and my project was revolving around 3D printing. So I had to do some tutorials around that and to actually learn it. And then, of course, the designing of a 3D gel electrophoresis chamber took some research. But I would say the design and brainstorming took maybe around 2 months. And the printing, trial and error, and running maybe took around a month and a half. But definitely science fair projects, for them to be well thought out, does take a long time. And you need that time to go through your thoughts and, do trial and error, figure out what works and what doesn't.
Fantastic. And it's worth it, right?
Oh, yes, very much worth it. And it was fun.
And it was fun. Okay, that's fantastic. Science and fun going together, that's what I love. That's music to my ears, definitely. Now, if you had more time and resources, how could you expand and improve this project?
So going to the resources section, that's also a problem I faced with my gel electrophoresis chamber. So I used a buffer solution, which is very similar to water, and the 3D filament that I used was very porous. This is what I didn't know from the start of my project. So with different resources, I could have definitely used a waterproof filament to make the experiment run a little bit smoother. With more time, I would have also added possibly a cover just to ensure that my actual experiment wouldn't be damaged while it ran, because it would run for 90 minutes. And I would maybe look through some more other versions of the gel electrophoresis chamber, seeing if there was maybe a smaller or a different model that would work better for 3D printing.
And that's such an important step in doing any kind of research or project, is keep that iteration project going. Find the best solution. Can I make it better? Can I expand on it? Can I improve upon it? And that's really, really an important lesson that I believe all of you all have learned in this process. Now, do you see yourself pursuing a career in a STEM field?
Yes, I would love to. I'm especially interested in human biology or biotechnology. I just love learning about the inner workings of, my body and what can be going on inside there. And especially when it relates to actually improving and helping all of humankind to be better and to be more healthier. I think that's something that really interests me. And I'd be very lucky, very fortunate to work in a STEM career.
Well, and as a sophomore here at Eastlake High School, you have a few more years to work on this project and expand upon it. Do you see yourself doing that?
Yes, so I'm thinking of participating in next year's science fair as well. I wouldn't necessarily be doing it as a continuation of my project, but outside of the science fair, I would be improving my project to maybe make it run a little bit easier, actually have the waterproofing filament, and distribute it to some middle schools that have actually reached out to me, which is exciting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you also told me you were going to start a science fair club here at Eastlake?
That was the general idea of all of our club members.
Okay.
It wasn't my idea necessarily, so I won't take credit for it.
Okay.
But I will love to be involved with that, and I will be involved.
I think that's
next year.
great. So I think if anyone out there has an interest in joining the Eastlake High School Science Fair Club, please talk to one of our science fair students or reach out to Miss Emmanuel Williams and join up with that club. And they can start probably early researching and looking at future projects. Okay, so our last bit is going to be rapid fire. Okay, here we go. Science memes or science documentaries?
Science documentaries, but only if they're being voiced by Snoop Dogg.
Snack break or power nap?
Snack break, because food. Yes. No, snack break.
Snack break. Okay. Thank you so much, Madeline, for joining us today on our Science Fair podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck in the future with all of your new inventions and helping future students. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're here with Ihan, one of our Science Fair winners and inventors extraordinaire. Tell me a little bit about yourself and about your project.
Hello, y'all. My name is Ihan Sang. I am a sophomore at Eastlake High School. In my project, it was the universal mass scale. So my project was under the objective of being able to measure mass without having to measure gravity. So this is a steel ball of 250 grams. So in order to measure this in Earth, you place it on a scale, and then the scale measures the force that the ball exerts on the scale. And that's how we know how heavy it is. And we usually call it weight and measure it in kilograms. However, what if we take this to space? So in space, gravity is different. So in some cases, gravity is greater than Earth. In some cases, gravity is lesser than Earth. But then how can we measure how heavy an object is in space? What if we took this mass to space? Now, if we took this ball of 250 grams to another planet, for example, Jupiter, which has a stronger gravitational field, then we would have a weight that is greater than 250 grams. However, one thing that stays the same is its mass. Mass stays constant no matter where you take it. That's why it's universal, because it's able to measure mass no matter where it is.
Very cool. That's a great topic, because weight and mass sometimes are things that people don't really understand, and they forget about the gravitational component. And how do you think this project could be applied in the real world or benefit your community?
So because this project, it's about measuring mass in places where we do not know the gravitational field, this will have to be either in space or underwater. For example, let's say that we have a scenario where we have a welder. I love welding, and I myself have welded a couple of times, but you require sometimes to know a certain weight or mass of metal that you are using in order to weld. And in this case, if you are measuring these metals underwater, there will be great difficulty because there's pressure pushing down, the water is pushing down. But in my project uses a horizontal movement, which works regardless of a vertical component pushing you down. So that's how welders could measure the material, the amount of material they're using. That's how we could have great welding results.
Thank you. That is important, especially here in an area like San Diego where we have all the shipyards and we do have a lot of shipbuilding. And that's very timely for our area. Now, one of the things that was really special about your project, too, I know you received first place from the Sweetwater Art Fair, but you also received a special award here. For many, many years, Steve Rodecker was our science fair coordinator. And he's the one that really brought science fair here to the Sweetwater district, and he is now the director of the county fair. And we decided to honor Steve with an award, the Steve Rodecker Spirit of Science Award, because if there was anybody talking about science, it was always Steve. And Steve was able to pick the project, and Steve picked Ihan's project as the special Spirit of Science Award. So your project, by an expert, was considered the spirit of science of our fair. So that was really, really exciting that Ihan, it's our first award ever. So you'll be like the person who won this the first time. And we plan to keep going with this project. So that was really special to have that selected. And you got another special award at the county fair. What did you win at the county fair? Tell us a little bit about that award that you got from the military.
I see, yeah. So a group of military engineers from the San Diego Post came by, and then they interviewed us, and then they decided that me and also Madeline, which also participated in the fair, we both obtained the award. The American Military Engineers Association gave us an award along with a check of $300, which was extremely great.
That was very nice. Now, at our fair, we do have a lot of community members and teachers that are the judges. And at the county fair, when you go to the Balboa Park to the county fair, which is usually about 3 weeks after the Sweetwater Fair being in February, the county fair being in March, they do have a lot of scientists. They do have a lot of military. They do have a lot of engineers that go around and they look at projects. And that's how Madeline and Ihan's projects were awarded. So there's many ways to expose yourself as a student to industry, to people out in San Diego that could make a difference and possibly help your future. So this is why it's a great opportunity. Do you feel, Ihan, that this opportunity here at the Science Fair has helped you possibly for a future career in a STEM field?
Oh, yes, definitely. So my first year with the Science Fair was in 8th grade. I started out with a plant sciences project, but STEM, it's a thing that can be applied no matter what science field you're doing, engineering, mechanical, physics, mathematics, biology. The basic principle always applies. So no matter what you're doing, no matter if you're doing biology or whatever STEM field that you're doing, all of the basic things apply, and it will definitely help you in the future. So all of those people that want to participate in a science fair but are unsure of a topic they want to choose, it doesn't matter which one they choose while they focus on it and then they deliver their best.
That's great, a great bit of advice. Now, are you planning on participating next year in the science fair?
Oh, yes, definitely. So I have been working on my time, fidgeting with different things, and I'm looking at possibly working on a drone project. But what caught my eye was my mom was working with the blinds at the house one day. And I was like, Mom, like, that's so much work for such a simple thing. And cleaning the blinds, I have tried it myself, and it's a mess. They get so dusty, but they're so hard to get off. And they have so many little cross sections that you need to clean. And I realized that other people also suffer from that. That's why I planned, and I'm working on a little car that can move around and detect blinds and then with a telescoping arm and a vacuum cleaner, it can clean all the blinds.
And I think this might be on Shark Tank someday. Do you need an agent?
I might.
Fantastic. Okay, now, Ihan, some rapid fire questions. Winning or learning something totally unexpected?
Ooh, of course, learning totally something unexpected. I have lost many times, and I realized that that's how I got here. I've learned many things, and if I could not win and keep learning, I probably would choose that.
Explaining to judges or explaining to friends?
Ooh, I like both, but I'll probably explain to judges because my friends, I love my friends, but they're not the greatest scientists. So, but the judges understand me, and I understand where they're coming from. So we have this great conversation, and we can talk about things that I like and they like. That's what I like about talking to judges.
Thank you. Ihan, I have a feeling that this is not the last we're going to hear from you with all of your great inventions. And I may even have one of your inventions in my house cleaning my blinds in the future. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you,
Thank you
and
so
good
much,
luck.
Ms. Rams.
I know behind every one of our wonderful Science Fair students, there is a wonderful teacher advisor. And Ms. Williams, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about being a Science Fair advisor here at Eastlake High School.
Well, that is something that I'm still learning. This is my first year as Science Fair advisor here at Eastlake High. I've worked here for 20 years. I teach biology currently. So, a lot of these projects that we're discussing, the carbon footprint calculator, the gel electrophoresis, the universal mass, and the superworms that digest the styrofoam. I mean, these are not areas of my expertise necessarily in regular biology. But the beauty and shall I say, superpower of Eastlake High is that we are known for our specialty science courses. And so we have wonderful colleagues here to support these students. And so it's truly, I cannot take the credit. This is definitely a team effort here from our faculty at Eastlake High.
Ms. Williams, can you share a memorable moment or breakthrough you witnessed while you're working with the students this year?
Well, I think one of the more inspiring moments, I'll say, we had a Saturday workshop, where students were invited to come in, work on our science boards, our displays, our projects, anything you need. And so it was kind of like just a lengthy open house on a Saturday. And, most teachers, they don't work on Saturdays, they're home with their families. But we're working on the project, and Madeline asked me a question that was completely, I had no idea. And she's going on and on about these different dyes, I think they were, for her gel electrophoresis chamber. And I said, you know what, Madeline, let me just try something and see if it works. And I called Dr. Hinono, who picks up on a Saturday morning. And I kind of knew he would, and he did. And I'm FaceTiming with him. He's helping me go through the lab room, find the proper supplies, explain to Madeline, okay, try this. And if this doesn't work, try that. Use this tool in this way. I'm going to send you a copy of the lab manual that goes with these so you can have all of the measurements and calculations done properly. And, so it just, those are the kind of things that just make this, make science feel kind of like warm and fuzzy, because like you're not in there alone. You don't have to struggle through it alone. And you think of science fair, and there are some late nights, like you heard Wyatt talk about that. 3 a.m. There are some late nights, but there are also these moments where you see this incredible collaboration. Sometimes it's collaboration in that moment where Dr. Hinono picked up, he walked us through it, we had the support we needed. And then there's other moments where they're helping each other out. Another one, Madeline, she's got big dreams, really big dreams, and nothing really stops her. So the fact that she hadn't done much 3D printing prior to this was not an obstacle for her. But I know some of her classmates actually helped her too to learn a little bit of basics about 3D printing to help get her in the right direction. And that's beautiful, to see the collaboration. They were all kind of helping each other out on their science boards, giving each other advice about, what looked best. and another student had come in, and he needed soldering tools. And guess who was here on a Saturday? Mr. Faust, our pre-engineering teacher, right?
Right.
So he was in here working with his robotics kids, and I said, you know what? I think they're here. Just walk down to that edge and tell him what you need, because I don't have those tools, and I'm not quite sure how to engineer this, electrical component that he was working on, and that's, again, this is something that any teacher can do.
Yes.
With the right team. It doesn't matter if you just teach a very basic course like general biology.
Right. That's amazing. And I know that when I spoke to Madeline about the Science Fair Club, and so you're going to be advising the Science Fair Club next year. And can you give us maybe your email address so they can contact you if a student wants to participate next year?
Of course.
Or they could come visit you in your class?
Yes, of course I can. This is something that the 4 kids that went on to county, they're forming this club together. They've already been advertising it. They came to some of the elementary science fair to kind of advertise it to students there. We plan to go to the middle school next year to really just spread the word and build the science fair participation up. And they can contact me if they have questions or concerns about how to join. It's amanda.williams@sweetwaterschools.org.
Okay, great. Thank you, Miss Williams. You've done such an amazing job with your 4 students, and I wish you all the greatest success, and I can't wait to see what those 4 students, plus more, are going to do next year in the world of science.
Me too. It'll be
Thank
exciting.
you.
Thank you.